I highly recommend walking in rain and in storms if you really feel like you need to clear your head. This black dog down, because I've been starting to get to that stage where I'm thinking quite morbidly about Kitten and what happened, and it started raining and we've put our coats on and decided to come out, and even if it rains and the thunder and lightning continues, it's beautiful being out here. I just wanted to mention a recent live by Unmasked, because they're talking about something that I can't remember if I made a video about it or if I just discussed it in comments and things, and that is, the cases in Colorado that just seemed to just have these lapses and things, with Letitia Harden being able to take Gannon Stauch out of Colorado into Florida, and the one that Unmasked is talking about is a big one. It's a biggie. They are discussing how after Chris Watts made his confession, the books were just slammed shut. This has always irked me, as it has probably hundreds of thousands of people. The books were just slammed shut. It was as if, oh, well, that's it then, the investigation's over, our work here is done, which is completely not the case, because people didn't know how the girls had died, where they'd died, how Shannon had died, and where. Not really, and lots of unanswered questions about who might be involved, or who had guilty knowledge, and it just seemed very, very clear. So in the February, when they went back and there's 4 hours of interview, why is this? Because they realized they had gaping holes in their investigation, and this should have been covered at the time. They're asking questions about things that they should have known, and also they do quite a poor job of it. I'm not saying initially, but when they go back for this investigation discussion, or these further interviews with Christopher Watts, it doesn't seem to be done very well, and they don't seem to learn anything. It's very, very unusual, and it just made me start thinking about various cases and how they don't always go really well. You want to trust that they're doing a fabulous job, and the outcomes are going to be correct. That the information is spot on, that the data is correct, timelines are correct, and that the evidence is there, and the right person is going to be convicted, because it is not unusual to have law enforcement and prosecutors go after somebody and put them into jail and they are not guilty. And this happens. And you've got Zion with the $8 million case after this guy spent 4 years in prison. He was the father of someone. I'm sorry about names and everything are vague. But there's a lot of precedents. There's people that get executed. And it gets me thinking as to why would law enforcement allow what's going on in social media at the moment, because it is dangerous. Why are they letting a lynch mob basically have a platform when it obviously endangers Barry Morphew and his family? Can't they just give him clearance? Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they say, look, he is being cleared? Because actually people can make those announcements. They can say, look, this person is not a person of interest. He is not a suspect. Because they obviously have to be. I mean, that's just the bottom line. And I mean, they've done a lot of investigation into Barry Morphew, Chaffey County and Federal and CBI. You know, and he's not arrested. And he hasn't been announced as a suspect or a person of interest, but they haven't cleared him as well. And you just think, you can't be unaware of the climate. You can't be unaware of what's going on, and how endangered he could be as an innocent person. Is there some way you could just nip this in the bud? Any further extrapolation and any further, you know, poor judgment and bullying, etc. So, you know, because speculation to a certain degree is one thing, but you know, it comes a time when speculation turns into assumptions, and that turns into mistakes and major issues. So yeah, thinking about, you know, Gannon Stauch not being called a missing child. He was a runaway for too long. He's a young boy, 11 years old, and then right under the noses of law enforcement, he has been taken out of state, his dead body, and you've got, you know, an investigation that seemed to stop halfway, even though it was, you know, it's quite thick with information, with the discovery and the videos, etc. It still wasn't enough. It could have been another 1,000 pages long, because so many unanswered questions, and the important ones were unanswered, and the books just seemed to be snapped shut at the time. So yeah, it does make me, I mean, this is the thing that I do. This is my channel where I discuss different sides of each part of something, and it's called conversation. It's perfectly valid, and you know, I'm in my own lane, and I'm happy to stay there with it, and I'm going to keep asking these types of questions. So some of those questions they have to be about, why have law enforcement, knowing how much danger Barry Morphew, Mallory Morphew could be in, why have they not said, okay, well look, he's actually in the clear, you need to leave him alone? Are they generally satisfied but not quite? Or are they still trying to tick him off the list? Are they concerned that other people that could be to blame could still be in collusion with Barry Morphew for some reason, simply because he's got business ties to them? I mean, I want to say, yeah, my gut is so torn, because I'm so 50-50, because, you know, I can see so clearly how Barry Morphew is a tortured, suffering husband, but I can clearly see why people question it, because of silence and things. But, you know, I can see reasons for that too. And everyone's different, and who you say, how someone acts when their wife goes missing, and you don't know why he thinks the way he does. Maybe he thinks he knows who did it, and he just hasn't told law enforcement that. But the investigation, I believe, is much bigger than we know, and you know, it can go any which way. It can be quite a surprise, you know. It could blow everyone's mind. You know, I'm quite concerned about Cassidy and his frame of mind and why he feels the way he did or does, and the things he's been saying. I'm quite concerned about testimony of workers. I'm quite concerned about Barry's timeline still. As far as I can see, Barry hasn't been found in a lie. I agree that Broomfield is it's bizarre. It is bizarre. It's bananas and bizarre in some aspects, but another is perfectly feasible. And what business is it of anyone's what Barry Morphew was doing on that Sunday? And, you know, it only matters now because, you know, Suzanne is missing. But how he spent his time down there is completely up to him. To go and set up a job, you might not necessarily even have to go onto a site. And things weren't done afterwards. Why? Well, was it up to someone else? Or was it not done because, well, he's kind of a bit distracted, having his wife missing? Yeah, I can see 100 angles for every aspect, and it is very frustrating. And I think everybody needs to keep an open mind. You don't need to choose one way or another because we don't know enough to choose. We can have a sense that, oh look, someone is really being bullied here, threatened actually, treated quite poorly. This is completely disgusting. The American Constitution, you are innocent until proven guilty, even if you are charged, until you've gone through your court trial and until a jury or a judge have found you guilty or not guilty. You are presumed innocent until proven guilty, and I don't know where the reasonable doubt thing comes in. You know, and this is what I'm trying to say as well, you know, even if charges are laid, this is the thing, this is the scary thing, even if charges are laid, doesn't make Barry guilty, and, you know, and innocent people get charged and prosecuted, you know, and I don't think some people realise what they're actually saying when they're saying things about law enforcement in the case, because for what they're saying to be true or valid, it's kind of like they're saying law enforcement are corrupt or bent or useless, you know, and again, so this is where I think, okay, well, you don't want to think that. You want to think they're doing a pretty sterling job because they know their stuff in that county. It's a particularly wild area, and they are experienced in law enforcement in that zone, just like a New York cop would have to have certain skills and knowledge to be a successful New York cop. But they brought in the feds really quickly.